So good morning, all. In the last class, we have discussed about various pharmacodynamic characters and what we are happy, what we will be reading about this pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. Okay, so pharmacodynamics is in briefly is what the drug does to the body. So in pharmacodynamics, we have learned what the receptors are there, what are the receptors, and how the variation in the dose of the drug will cause this dose response curve. We have learned about the graded dose response curve. We have learned about the quantal dose response curve and various other related factors. Okay, so we'll be learning a step ahead what all is more about this pharmacodynamics. Okay, so when we have understood that the drug can come and act on these receptors, and now it will act on this various type of ligand gated receptors, G protein coupled receptors. Later, once we have known that there are various receptors we can bring about, we thought about the secondary messengers. So all these features we have learned, and we now in the last class we have also learned that variation in the dose can also variation in the dose can also change the responses and how the responses change. And we have also learned about the ceiling effect, like so we have also learned about the ceiling effect. What is that ceiling effect? What happens? All these things. Okay. So what is this factors? So in general, you can see in the title slide here. So what all can actually modify the drug action? Okay. Please all of you mute yourself. Okay. Okay, so we'll be learning about factors modifying the drug action. So in general, we can think that the drug given for a 10-year-old kid will not be acting in the same way as it is given in a 60-year-old person. Okay, so then a person who is thin, who is receiving the drug, if the person who is fat receives the same drug, it may not be working in the same way. So it is as simple as that. It is based on age, sex, all these things. The drug factor actions will be changed. Okay, so it can be the patient's healthy condition, no, unhealthy condition. All these things will change. So variation in the drug response, it can be due to the age, weight, sex, variation in the receptors. For example, the person is not having enough receptors, he is a malnourished child. Okay, all these things will vary. Alteration in the number of receptors which are active, like the person is prone for thyroid disease, familial genetic problems, all these things will be changing the responses. So in brief, okay, so this is a very wide chapter and we'll be learning some specific points. So some examples which you can mention in the exams. Otherwise, the class contains a lot of examples which you can quote. Okay, so but you need to remember some And subheadings, all the 12 subheadings you need to remember, because this is the main question for you. Okay, so what is that body size? Okay, so we thought about the thin person and the stout person. So age, pediatric or geriatric, species, so pharmacogenetics, like some people are more prone for diseases. For example, they tell that in the black population in US, corona affected less, but later we could see that all the population were affected evenly. Okay, maybe that they were immune in the initial phase, but later all the populations were equally affected. Route of administration, so hope all of you have learnt about various routes. Intravenous route, the action will be faster. Oral route, it will take relatively more time. Pregnancy and lactation is a hyperdynamic state where a lot of changes have taken place in the body. Okay, how the drugs can transfer through the placenta and how the mother reacts to the medications and what will be the effect of these drugs on the baby's growth. All these things are very important. Then physiological states. Okay, so there are various diseases which alter the drug metabolism. So hyperthyroidism, increased metabolism, liver disease, decreased metabolism, all these things will take place. Psychological factors, accumulation, tolerance, all these are various factors. So we'll be learning in brief. Okay, what are the things? So this is one more slide. Okay, so this is from Goodman, which is showing in brief, like once you are given the drugs, how the drug changes. Okay, so it is the prescribed dose to administered dose. Why we are given this gap? Okay, prescribed because doctor can prescribe anything, and there are two people who are involved here. The medical person has to give the same drug in the same concentration. Okay, and if the doctor has told to take the medication for 3 times and the patient starts, okay, 3 times is not needed, only one time is enough, he thinks like that. Or sometimes if the person is around 60 years, the person only remembers to take the medications at the night, morning and afternoon the person fails to take the medications. All these things can happen. So that's why prescribed dose and administered dose, there is a difference. Okay, so once the dose is administered, now comes the picture of rate and extent of absorption. See, absorption of the drug is also very important for its action, because in case of malnourished children, the absorption may not be good. In case of geriatric population, the absorption of the medications will not take optimally. The person should be healthy enough to absorb the medications. The person should be healthy enough to absorb the vitamins and nutrients. Okay, so body size and component, distribution in the body fluids, binding to the plasma, rate of metabolism and excretion. For example, if the person is hypothyroid, the metabolic rate will be slower. In hyperthyroid, the metabolism is faster. All these things can happen. A person who is on this anti-epileptic medications where all the enzymes are induced, the person's metabolism will be faster, and the other person who is not on such medications or not hyperthyroid, the metabolism is normal. Okay, so there are some conditions like metabolism is suboptimal in case of hypothyroid. Okay, all these things can happen. The concentration at the site of action is also very important. So because once the it has passed this administered state and it has reached the receptors, there now the physiological factors, pathological, genetic, all these things will affect the drugs. So okay, so now the drug has receptor has worked, and now how much of drug is working now, that comes to picture. Okay, so that how is the drug and receptor interaction, functional state of the target system. Okay, so whether the target is able to produce the response. Okay, placebo effect is there. Okay, all these things are to be taken into consideration. So body size, in case of this body size, we can actually calculate the body size. So body size we calculate for example, here body weight in kgs divided by 70 into average adult dose. So this we make it for the albendazole, some of the anti-emetic drugs, and also some of the anti-cancer drugs. Then coming to the actual measurements. Okay, so this formula is not that much important, but it is just for your understanding that there is such formula which can help us to find the dose. Okay, so there are charts from which we can actually obtain how much to be given to which patient. So coming to the age, okay, so for children we cannot give tablets. The children will spit out the capsules. They may think otherwise. Okay, it's so much it will get stuck like that. Okay, but in case of adults, we may not be having such problems. But we have preparation for children in the form of syrups, suspensions, elixirs. Okay, where elixirs we do not need. To shake the solution. Okay, suspensions we need to shake a little bit before consumption. So we have formula. These formulas are important. Young's formula, Billings formula are important. Based on this, you can have the practical calculations also. Okay, so practical experiments with the calculations are there. In the practicals, again, these things will be repeated. What is this Young's formula? Child's dose is age plus 12 into adult dose. Okay, so that will be the Young's formula. Billings formula is age by 20 into adult dose. So 1/20th of the adult dose we are giving by in according to Billings formula. Okay, so body surface area that we have learned just now. So what are the other age-related factors? For example, one of the peculiar case, Gray baby syndrome, which is a short notes, I'll briefly explain. There, this chloramphenicol is a age-old drug which we use for typhoid. Okay, so the chloramphenicol was used for common fever also initially, but this is a toxic drug. Nowadays, we are not using this chloramphenicol, but this is of historical importance. Now, if we have used this drug for mother, there is no problem because the metabolism of the drug can take place normally. Okay, so chloramphenicol, the metabolism needs liver function normally. But in case of babies, the normal liver function can be achieved by 2 to 3 years. If we have given this drug in the baby below 2 years, what happens? This drug will not be metabolized and it will lead to hemolysis and the baby turns into gray. Okay, so we call it as gray baby syndrome. Okay, it happens, gray baby syndrome happens in children below 2 years when chloramphenicol is administered. So presently we are not using this drug in children, but it is of historical importance to remember the chloramphenicol metabolism failure will lead to gray baby syndrome. So giving rectal diazepam. So rectal diazepam means the diazepam is an anti-epileptic drug. The children due to high fever they will throw fever, and there we will give rectal diazepam. Okay, so the theophylline, phenytoin, carbamazepine, they have the shorter half-life. Okay, so once we have administered this drug with other drugs, for example, carbamazepine, what happens is the autometabolism will take place, and there will be again the duration of the action will be decreased. So in elderly, when there is a abnormal renal function, there will be problems with absorption, plasma protein binding, all these things can happen. Okay, that means in renal function, the action is altered. That's what we mean to say. So females have lesser body surface area. They are more for digoxin. They are more tolerable. Okay, so in case of antihypertensive, clonidine, methyl dopa, these are the drugs which are given for hypertension in pregnancy. Okay, so hypertension in pregnancy, we give this clonidine, methyl dopa. Usually in pregnancy-induced hypertension, these drugs come into role, and their action is a little bit different there with the females. Okay. Coming to genetics, genetics, the genetic basis for the drug action. Okay, so here, for example, if we have this atypical pseudocholinesterase. Okay, all of you mute yourself. All of you mute yourself. Okay, if there is specific gene defect, for example, atypical pseudocholinesterase. Okay, pseudocholinesterase is an enzyme which is involved with this succinylcholine. Okay, succinylcholine. is the drug classified under skeletal muscle relaxants. Succinylcholine is helping us in bronchoscopy, endoscopy, all that time. If we are given this drug, it should be metabolized in the body within certain amount of time. But in case of this atypical pseudocholinesterase, when the person is not having enough amount of pseudocholinesterase, the person will not metabolize and the person will go for respiratory arrest or apnea. Okay, that is what we mean by succinylcholine induced apnea.
ಬೀಳದ ಯಾಕೆ
I think Aditi Naik is again repeatedly switching on the mic. Please do not do that. Okay. Yes. We'll move to the next slide. So G6PD deficiency. In brief, glucose 6-phosphate is an enzyme which is involved in the various metabolic processes. Here what happens is if the person is not having enough amount of glucose 6-phosphate uh, dehydrogenase, hemolysis will take place. Okay, so primarpine is a drug commonly used in malaria. Okay, so if the person is having this deficiency, it will lead to hemolysis. So that's why we should be careful while using this. Okay. So acute intermittent porphyria, it can be precipitated by this barbiturates in case of genetic defects. Okay. So here, uh, what can happen is if the genetic defect is there, the same effect it may be needing 4 to 5 times the drug in some cases, and in other cases the drug may be effective 2 to 3 times more. Okay, so that means it is basically depending upon the metabolizing enzymes. If the enzymes are not metabolizing the drug, more drug is available and it will cause adverse reactions. Okay. So slow stellators and fast stellators, this concept is very important in case of this isoniazid. Isoniazid is a drug which we commonly use in tuberculosis. Okay, the first line anti-tubercular drug is isoniazid. Like if the isoniazid is metabolized by acetylation, in case there are some people with genetic changes who metabolize the isoniazid slowly. We call them as slow acetylators. So in some people, the isoniazid is metabolized at a faster rate. We call them as fast acetylators. So that's why treatment in tuberculosis becomes difficult if we have the genetically different group of people. So there are various other genetic differences which can happen. Okay, this is an exhaustive list. In the exams, if you need to remember at least 4 of them. Okay. Okay, so here glutathione transferases, if it is deficient in case of anti-cancer drugs, what can happen is decreased response in the breast cancer. All these things can happen. See, this is very important example. Okay, catechol-O-methyl transferase, that is COMT. This is the enzyme which is involved in metabolizing the dopamine. So dopamine we are administering in case of the Parkinsonism disease. Okay, levodopa and carbidopa, a combination of drug we use in Parkinsonism. Okay, so if this enzyme is deficient, there will be problem. If the enzyme is deficient, the drug can act for the longer duration of time, okay, because the drug will not be metabolized. So various such list of drugs are given here. Okay. So this is one more exhaustive list showing the different drugs. So species and race. So for example, some drugs are tolerated by rabbits. We are doing this experiment in rabbits. Okay, the atropine eye experiments. Rabbit eye experiments are very important for us to understand various drugs, starting with phenylephrine, pilocarpine. All these drugs we do experiments with rabbit eye. Okay. Then rats and mice are they are more resistant to digitalis. They can take more amount of digitalis. Okay, so that is more amount means that is based on their body weight. Okay, 1 milligram per kg like that. So 1 milligram per kg in humans will be very high. Okay, like that. So because they are the experimental animals and based on their experiments, humans are if they are extrapolated to humans, we should be careful about that. Okay. So here blacks require higher doses of the drugs, maybe antihypertensives, all these things. Mongols require lower concentration of atropine and ephedrine to dilate pupil. So all such changes are seen. So route of administration, we already have discussed this in the kinetic classes that what happens in by various routes. Okay. So for example, here one is there. Magnesium sulfate orally can cause purgation, that means diarrhea. Okay, and magnesium sulfate on topical application, we call it as Epsom salt or decreasing the solution, the combination which is used to decrease the swelling on the legs. Okay, intravenously it can produce CNS depression and hypertension. So this is a drug with three modes of delivery system producing three different effects. So environmental effects. So if we are now living in the town cities and we are consuming most of the products which are having high carcinogens, insecticides, all these are possible, and we need to take enough precautions. If the person is residing in an area where all these industries are there, for example, top cities like Mumbai, Pune, all industrial cities, they are more exposed and their drug actions will be different. So pregnancy is one condition where we need to understand various drug metabolism, how it takes place, and phenomena of teratogenicity when we give the drug within first trimester and the last trimester. Where if we are using the drugs, they can lead to abortions. All these things we need to be remembering. Okay. Then in case of this pregnancy, what has happened is the fluid accumulation or the body weight accumulation is around 12 kgs extra. Okay, so extra 12 kgs or the 12, most of it will be water or in the form of blood circulation which is happening. The heart now has to compensate various things. Okay, so extra 12 kgs extra compensation is needed. In order to change this, what will be happen? What is happening is making the drug passage through the placenta. There is a placental barrier which allows some drugs to enter the placenta, some is not allowed. Okay, so the lipid solubility, drug ionization, all these things are different. Pregnancy is a, I told, pregnancy is a hyperdynamic state. Okay, so excess of water is there, excess of things are taking place within the body. So tapentol, for example, if it is used in cesarean section, it can pass through the placenta and it can cause sedation or APA in the newborn. So we should not use tapentol sodium, which is a barbiturate. Okay, barbiturate is high lipid solubility. We should not use this in pregnancy. And psychological factors are there. This doctor is not good. If the person gets that idea, however the treatment you give, whatever the treatment you give, the person will not feel satisfied. And for a doctor who speaks very nicely, okay, this doctor will heal me. Even though the person will give water injection, the person will think that will have a good effect. Okay. So placebo, I will please, nocebo, I will harm. So that is the idea. This is actually a psychological effect. Okay. So in lot this why knowing this is important is because in case of clinical trials experiments, what we do is for some patients we give placebo, for some patients we actually give the drugs. So for all the patients or all the people involved in the clinical trial, we may not be giving the drugs. That's how we find out that whether that drug is effective. And that to be effective, the drug should produce more effect than the placebo effect. For example, if the person is hypertensive, placebo effect can also reduce the blood pressure, but the drug group should be able to reduce the blood pressure more than the placebo group. That's how we find out that the drug is better than the placebo effect and is more effective. So placebo inert substance, okay, so it works by pharmacodynamic rather than the other means. Okay, so it is a controlled US for clinical trial, as I told. Okay, so coming to the pathological state, if there is some problem within the body, the system will not work correctly. Okay, so we know that in case of gastrointestinal disease, the drug absorption should have to take place here only, and where, for example, amoxicillin is used, there the drug absorption will be altered. Okay, so or decreased. Okay, so in case of celiac disease, absorption has decreased. Achlorhydria, aspirin absorption has decreased. Okay, liver disease, for example, if the person is alcoholic, the person has got alcoholic liver disease. All the hepatic system is altered, because we hepatic system we get all this gluconeogenesis, glycolysis, glycogen storage will be affected. All these things can happen. So protein binding, metabolism, activation of the prodrugs in the body, all this will be altered. So prodrugs is a concept which you will be knowing, but I will explain. Prodrugs are the drugs which need to be activated within the body. Okay, prodrugs are the or something like a pre-drug. Their activation or their action only starts when they are metabolized in the body, and product to active drug always takes place within the body. If the person is not having the sound body, the activation of the drug may not take place and the drug will be ineffective. So in this case, bicampicillin is a penicillin group of drug. It becomes less effective because of not activated optimally. So cirrhotics, there may be problem with the morphine and the barbiturate. Okay. So low clotting factors means the increase prothrombin time. That is the problem. So aminoglycosides, phenobarbital, these are relatively toxic to the kidney. Okay, so they are nephrotoxic drugs, and in case of this kidney disease, their administration should be controlled. Why we should administer? Because there may not be an alternate drug which will be helpful for the person. For example, in case of urinary tract infection, we need aminoglycoside. In case of this heart disease, we need digoxin. In case of this epileptic people, we need phenobarbital. So sometimes we can alter or we have the alternative drugs, but sometimes we may not be having alternative drugs. And these drugs are given in the limited dose or less than the actual dose and tried. But when the drug is not succeeding, we may shift over to the other drugs. Okay, this is about the nephrotoxic drug. We should be avoided. Amphotericin B, aminoglycoside. 2As are nephrotoxic. So congestive cardiac failure. So congestion means the body is drenched in its own secretions. Okay. For example, decreased absorption is taking place in this congestion. All the body mechanisms are altered in congestive cardiac failure. Okay. So volume of distribution is altered. Okay. Lignocaine dosing should be reduced. Retard drug elimination. All these things are possible in congestive heart failure. So thyroid state, we told that in case of hyperthyroidism, we need more amount of drugs. In case of hypothyroidism, the metabolism is decreased. All these things can happen. So hyperthyroid is more sensitive to digoxin. Hyperthyroid's arrhythmic potential is more. Okay, we should be careful. So other antipyretic drugs, when in pathological state, they may not be acting optimally. Myocardial infarction, they become sensitive to adrenaline and digitalis. All these things can happen. So head injury, it is difficult to identify because atropine causes mydriasis. Okay, so in case of head injury, what has happened, there is meiosis. Now we are trying to see that mydriasis will occur, but in head injury patients there will be meiosis, will not be actually able to see the actual effects of the drugs. So we should now adopt some other parameter to understand the effect of the drug. Okay. Here, in case of this AIDS patient, cotrimazole can produce higher incidence of adverse drug reaction. Cotrimazole is a sulfonamide group of drug. Okay, all sulfur drugs can cause adverse reactions, and that in AIDS patients there can be more problematic. But the problem with here is we should see that in AIDS patients, cotrimazole is a very important prophylactic drug. We have to give this drug, and we should also watch for the adverse drug reactions, and if once adverse reactions are starting, we have to stop the drug. So that's how the problems will be there in case of pathological state accumulation. Okay, see, sometimes it so happens that we are giving the drug and drug starts accumulating in the body and it is not excreted. Okay, so that doesn't mean that the drug metabolism is abnormal. Even though metabolism is normal, in case of digoxin, digoxin tends to accumulate at the end of fifth day of administration. So in a week, digoxin is given only for 5 days, and we call this as dose holiday. 5 day, 5/7. Whenever we are giving digoxin, we write 5/7. That means only 5 days it is given, 2 days of holiday, because of we are worried about the accumulation of the drug, and digoxin can cause all type of arrhythmias. So that's why we need to avoid accumulation. Coming to one more concept, that is tolerance. Okay, that means very good example for this tolerance is alcohol, because 2 years back, when students were in first year, they would take the 30 ml or 90 ml of the alcohol, and they would get the same kick. But in case of final year, they may not get the same kick with 30 ml or 90 ml. They need a whole bottle now. So this is in brief about tolerance. Okay, so tolerance can be natural. Okay, some species are tolerant to the atropine. Black traces are tolerant to the metriatis. Acquired is by repeated exposure. Okay, it may be in the form of atropine, cocaine, drug abusers. All these things is possible. Okay, so tolerance can develop uh, uh, as a seductive action of this, and very important point here is tolerance can develop to sedative action of phenobarbital but not to the anti-epileptic effect. Very important. Why? Because for anti-epilepsis we use phenobarbital, and this drug phenobarbital for anti-epilepsis is used for a minimum period of 3 years. All the anti-epileptic drugs, remember, they are used for a minimum period of 3 years, and this 3 year period is a long period, and where the patient can develop tolerance. Yes, patient will develop tolerance, but not to all the drugs. And one such drug is phenobarbital, where tolerance will not be developed to anti-epileptic property. For example, diazepam. Diazepam, lorazepam, clonazepam, these are benzodiazepines where the tolerance develops to anti-epileptic action. Very dangerous. So these benzodiazepines are not given as a long-term treatment for epilepsy. Okay, but phenobarbital is given for long-term prophylaxis. Coming to the other mechanism, so drug disposition and cellular tolerance. Okay, drug disposition is like for example, here barbiturate and carbamazepine, they induce their own metabolism. The barbiturate, for example, phenobarbital, we have started it at the dose initial period at the first day, and with a dose of 100 milligram 2 times. But the end of 3 years, the same person may need 100 milligram 3 times. So that means the metabolic enzymes which dissolve or the metabolize these barbiturates in the liver have risen up. Okay, so they need more drug for the same effect to be there. One more is cellular tolerance. Okay, so morphine, barbiturate, they can also develop the cellular tolerance. That means more amount of drug is needed at a later period of time. So cross tolerance. For example, if the person is alcoholic and he takes regular alcohol and is also epileptic, what happens is you at the end of 6 months only the person needs more amount of barbiturates to suppress his epileptic attacks. Okay, that is cross tolerance. It is between morphine and barbiturates and alcoholics and barbiturates. Both things can happen. One more concept is tachyphylaxis. Okay, so this tachyphylaxis is a concept-oriented thing. Okay, we will not do these things in practically. Okay, what is happening here? Very important. And Very interesting to me. Okay, so ephedrine and tyramine, okay, they act by releasing catecholamines in the body. This is about the tachyphylaxis. The other name for tachyphylaxis is acute tolerance. Okay, here the synthesis can't match the release. Okay, what happens is, yeah, as soon as we give ephedrine or tyramine, catecholamine is released. Okay, so if this catecholamine is released, uh, the drug will produce its action. But in case of this tachyphylaxis, what happens is repeated administration of the drug is taking place. Once the repeated administration of the drug is taking place, for example, here we can see the response goes on decreasing because the catecholamine stores have been exhausted. Okay, what happens? The catecholamine stores have been exhausted. Catecholamines means adrenaline, noradrenaline, all those things. Okay, so here drug is given continuously. The drug here is ephedrine, which can be given. You can see the successive sequence. We are not giving the time for the drug to respond. So much of faster we are administering. That is like every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes we start administering the drug. The drug becomes less responsive because of the exhaustion of the vesicles containing this norepinephrine. You can see here ephedrine is active, and there are two vesicles only. You stimulate, it will give. You stimulate, it will release the norepinephrine. But how long it will release? As long as the stores are there, and replenishment of the store will take place over the period of time, 1 day, 2 days, like that. But if we start giving it within a span of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, all the vesicle will be exhausted, but there will not be excess response. That's what we are seeing here. This is tachyphylaxis. So what is difference between tachyphylaxis and chronic tolerance? Okay, so acute is called tachyphylaxis, chronic is tolerance. So this is rarely seen because it is a experimental basis. Chronic tolerance we can see in nitrate industries. Okay, so chronic tolerance will take place in people working in nitrate industries. Okay, that we call it as Monday morning sickness. What is this Monday morning sickness? The person starts working on Monday, he will have headache. The headache is due to the cerebral vascular dilation due to nitrates inhalation of nitrates. But as the week progresses, the person will not have headache because the person gets adapted to the nitrate within the environment. Saturday he will not headache, but Sunday he will get a gap. That means that day he is not exposed to the nitrate environment. Again on Monday he will suddenly get exposed to the nitrates and he will have headache. Okay, that is Monday morning sickness or chronic tolerance or headache which appears on Monday. Okay, so tolerance develops slowly and is seen in intermittent dosing. Okay, so here tachyphylaxis original effect cannot be possible because the exhaustion of the vesicles will take place that we saw. Okay, so effect can still be obtained by increasing the dose in case of chronic tolerance. So drug resistance can occur with anything. Okay, so with regularly given drugs, for example, for 20 years back, only one drug available in the market was penicillins and erythromycin. For every disease, they used to give penicillins. What happens? The bacteria will die once day. Second day, the bacteria will try to survive. The fourth day, what will happen? The bacteria will eat penicillin and start surviving. That is Staphylococcus. Okay. So repeatedly, we are administering the same drug without any change. What happens? The drug, the bacteria gets adopted. That is drug resistance. So cross tolerance can be seen in sulfonamides. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me.